Hey guys, welcome back to AmSamFam.
Instead of going on one of our regular adventures today, we decided to stop, take a step back. We've been here for about 3.5 years now, and we've been thinking a lot about all the things that we've experienced while we've been here, and we wanted to share with you, our loyal viewers, the top 10 things that we wish we would have known before we moved to American Samoa.
This morning we were going to head out and have some great adventure, but it was just pouring rain. We decided to switch gears and do something a little more weather friendly. By the time we got out here, the weather's beautiful, the sun is out again, and that is going to take us right into our number 10 thing that we wish we had known before moving to American Samoa, which is paradise is so green because it rains a lot.
Now this is something that didn't surprise me a lot. I think I kind of knew that we were moving to a jungly island where it's gonna be a rainforest, and there's only really one way that a rainforest becomes a rainforest, and it's with a lot of rain. But
I don't know why, I just had these visions of sun-drenched beaches all day, every day.
and in fairness, that's the way it is about 50% of the time.
Some days it is sunny all day long. Some days it rains all day long. But most days it goes back and forth between the two. You might wake up in the morning and it's beautiful and sunny, and then later in the afternoon some clouds will roll in and it'll rain for sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes an hour, and then it's gone again and it's beautiful again.
Now I would say that's the norm.
Now when we're at the beach and the clouds do roll in, what we usually do is just dive under the water, and we don't notice the rain at all.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't tell you how many times I have been out snorkeling or spearfishing. I'm out for an hour and I'll come back in and I'll get out, and everybody will be as drenched as I am, and I'll look around, the sand is all wet, and I'll say, did it rain while I was in the water?
Yeah, a lot.
So it'll happen, but just know, if you're planning on coming here to visit, if you're planning on moving here, get ready to live a life that is kind of half rain, half sunshine, and beautiful beaches. Speaking of beaches, our number 9 thing we wish we would have known before moving to American Samoa is
leave the itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini at home.
You know, this is something that might surprise you, because if you were like me, you might have thought of the South Pacific as being a lot of, you know, again, those sun-baked beaches, the whole hula girl thing, and the coconut bra, and that is not the way that life is here in American Samoa. It's important to understand that most of the Pacific, American Samoa included, is very conservative. So you will not drive down the road and see these nice beaches covered with people and, you know, like thongs and bikinis. It doesn't happen here, and if you do wear a bikini, you run a real risk of kind of offending a lot of people.
I've never heard of anybody being kicked off a beach or even confronted about it, but just know that that is not appreciated here.
So if you are going to the beach, for men, we're lucky, this isn't as much of a problem. You throw on your swim trunks, you're okay to go. That's really not a problem. But if you're a lady,
you can wear a tank top and shorts if you'd like. Lots of people here will just go fully clothed in whatever they have been wearing all day. Long pants, t-shirt, whatever they're wearing goes. That goes for around town too, so you're not going to see many people in halter tops or midriffs showing or anything. Short shorts, again, this is mostly for the girls, but t-shirts, longer shorts, skirts. If you are wearing something, sometimes we'll go to the beach or we'll go hiking, and then afterwards we want to grab a bite to eat or just run into a store. It's really easy to just bring along a lava, wrap it around, and you're always good to go then.
Fit right in. While we're still on the topic of beachwear and beaches, our number 8 thing that we wish we would have known before moving to American Samoa is that there is no such thing as a crowded beach anywhere in American Samoa. So we've spent a lot of time in beaches, different places around the world, where you're always going to be sharing a beach with at least a dozen other people on a really slow day. On a busy summer day, a beautiful, bright, hot summer day, you're going to be at the beach with thousands of other people, but that will never, ever happen to you in American Samoa.
No. When we went out to the Manua Islands to the national park in Ofu. If you've seen any pictures of American Samoa, you've probably seen pictures of the beach on Ofu. And we literally had this whole stretch of beach to ourselves. And that's what everybody says when they go to Ofu.
We're talking like this beach ranks top 10 beaches in the world on a lot of lists because it's just so beautiful and pristine, like straight out of a screensaver on a computer. It's just, it's unreal. And not a single other person there.
One of the nice things for us as parents is that when we go to a beach that isn't super crowded, we don't have to worry about our kids getting lost in the crowd or wandering off and not being able to find where we are again. It's really easy to keep an eye on them and keep track of them.
While we're still on the topic of beaches, let's segue into the next thing that we wish we would have known before moving to American Samoa, which is, like many Pacific islands, trash is a problem here in American Samoa, which is kind of the nature of living on a small island in the middle of a big ocean where trash floats around, and inevitably some of it's going to get washed up onto the beaches here. Now, we don't want to scare anybody with this one because it's not as bad as we maybe are making it sound, but it did genuinely surprise us. I would say 95% of the beaches here are really pristine with only the occasional bit of rubbish here or there, but there are a few where it just seems to kind of concentrate, and it's pretty sad to see. As much as we would like to say that all this trash is just a problem on the beaches and it's all from off the island, it's not really true. Good example being that when we go up hiking in the mountains, there are certainly spots that people just dump trash here, and I wouldn't say it's a major problem culturally on the island that people dump trash, but just like any place in the world, you've got your bad eggs that just don't care.
The government has been doing some good work encouraging people to keep American Samoa beautiful. There are signs up in the mountains saying no dumping. The natural beauty of this island is just something I've never experienced before personally. And so we love to see people and organizations working together to help keep it that way.
And I'll be honest, I think it's been really effective. Even just a few years that we've been here, you go to beaches that used to have a little bit more rubbish on them, and it's just not as bad as it used to be. So I think everybody's moving in the right direction. Still, if you're gonna come visit or if you're moving here, come with your eyes wide open.
Like Nate said, a lot of it washes in from the ocean, especially after big storms. And that brings us to our sixth point. Tsunamis are more than just a news headline.
Now, you hear the word tsunami, and if you're like me, it just sounds like this kind of like far off thing that's so far from anything in space and your reality. And that's kind of the situation I was in when I moved here, until I started realizing tsunamis are a very real thing here in American Samoa, which is something that we're dealing with that we've never dealt with in our life. One of the reasons being that American Samoa is located very close to a trench that runs down south of us and curves around where two tectonic plates meet. And there's a lot of earthquakes on this trench. Every once in a while, an earthquake hits that's just right, and it will send a tsunami right towards us. That happened actually in 2009, and it led to a lot of deaths in American Samoa and in Western Samoa. So it's something that people are very aware of here.
We talk to the kids about it and make sure that we all have a plan. If we're separated from Nate, if he's at work, if the kids are at school.
It's just something that you might not consider that you will have to think about and make a part of your life in some small way if you move here to American Samoa, or even if you're visiting American Samoa. You'll want to understand the danger of tsunamis and know the path you need to take to kind of get out of the tsunami zone if something happens while you're here.
General idea is just get to higher ground.
Now, in the case of a tsunami or a cyclone or any natural disaster, you're going to want to be prepared. You're going to want to have the right kind of food and water and things like that. Brings us to the next thing that we wish we would have known about American Samoa before we moved here, which is you should never assume that a specific product will be available. Now, this is something that we've discussed in other videos. In fact, check out our video on the cost of living for groceries and food products. We'll have a link to it here. And in that, we actually just followed a couple of big storms that came through, and there were also some upsets with shipping lines. The result was that we had a lot of stores whose shelves were empty. Now, that's kind of the dramatic, almost worst case scenario.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, this presents itself in a lot more ways just on a regular day-to-day basis too.
If there are certain brands of, say, clothing that you like a certain brand of jeans that you just always wear, you know they fit you right.
Ain't gonna be here.
Don't count on it.
Nope.
Just know where to order it from. When it comes to a lot of tech gear, like our gear for filming these videos, or you're not going to be able to find a lot of that on island.
Say you are making a specific dish and you need sour cream, and every time you've been to the store here on the island for the last 6 months, there is sour cream in the cooler. The time you need sour cream, you're gonna show up and there will not be sour cream anywhere on the island. You know, it was a lot more frustrating at first. I would say now it just feels like life.
Yeah.
Now the next thing that we wish we would have known about American Samoa before we moved here is kind of a break from what we've been talking about. And that is that there are graves everywhere in American Samoa. I'm not talking graveyards everywhere where there's nice little graveyards on every corner. No, I'm talking about there are graves in everybody's front yard. There is a grave 3 feet from where we eat our breakfast in the mornings.
In our rental.
Yes.
Somebody's deceased relative is our neighbor.
Yeah. Any preconceived notion you have about graves being kind of like scary, dark, creepy places, throw it out the window because it's just commonplace here.
It is basically a way to claim a piece of land. If grandma is buried on this piece of land, then it is her kids who get that inheritance of that land. Now, pretty much the whole island is communal land belonging to full family clans. And so this is just a way to kind of divvy up the land into smaller chunks and to be able to stake a claim on your own little piece of land.
Kind of unofficially, not staking a claim like it really is yours, but
if our analysis of this is off, please feel free to let us know in the comments down below. We do our best to learn about the culture and the traditions, but we don't always get it right, and we love to learn what the truth is. Aw, thanks. Speaking of family, that leads us straight into our third thing that we wish we had known before moving to American Samoa, which is Ainga is the center of island life. Literally all things revolve around family, or Ainga as it is in Samoan.
now when we say family, coming from kind of a traditional American background, you kind of just think of like mother, father, sister, brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins. But it's not a perfect translation to say Ainga just means family. It is primarily going to be blood relations, but it's also other people that are just kind of like, you know, close to your family in lots of ways. So when you talk about taking care of your Ainga, you're almost talking about taking care of a village. When you think about the movie Moana, and there's like this village of people that all are there to support each other and help each other. And it's really the idea of Ainga. Part of family is giving and being, you know, giving of yourself in your time, giving service, giving monetary donations for things that are happening. This is something that's essentially expected of Ainga. And because we have fallen in with people and we've become essentially Ainga to certain people, at least I like to think that we have, and it feels like that.
Feels like it.
That's something that we have felt the responsibility and the need to also take part in. And I didn't really know about that before we came here, and it's been an interesting thing getting used to. It's not always a perfect system, the way that they set that up, but it really is a nice system that has a great place and provides a lot of safety and security to people that they probably wouldn't have otherwise. A kind of a social safety net that we would dream of having in any other place, but it isn't organized to the government. It is just kind of inherently part of the culture.
Speaking of social safety nets, that leads us right into the second thing we wish we would have known before moving to American Samoa, was that we would spend virtually nothing on healthcare. We came from the United States, which is one of the more difficult places in the world to be able to afford healthcare.
It was honestly something in the United States that we had a lot of stress about. I know we're not alone in this. It was a big expenditure for us, not just health insurance, but also actually going in and meeting deductibles and all these things that we just don't really have to think about here anymore, because American Samoa has essentially universal health care. Now, this is a pretty political thing, and we don't mean to be political about this, saying that everything should be like this or that it's better than other systems. What we can tell you is that we have one primary hospital on the island, which is called the Lyndon B. Johnson Tropical Medical Center. And it's pretty much a full hospital that gives you most of the things that you would need for kind of your regular medical needs and a lot of the emergency procedures that you might need as well. Although there are definitely a number of procedures that they don't do at the hospital that you would probably have to leave and go to either New Zealand or Hawaii to have performed. And we also have quite a few kind of small clinics around the island too. So if you live on a remote part of the island and it's a long ways to drive into LBJ Medical Center, then you can probably get most of your vaccination things, your sore throats, things like that done at some of the kind of smaller community clinics.
So when something happens with our kids or to us, we don't have to question, can we afford this? We're just able to take them in and get it taken care of.
American Samoa is not like you're going to a resort where things are made to seem authentic for you. American Samoa is truly a living culture, which is the number one thing that I really wish we would have known about American Samoa before we came here. For the greatest reason possible. It really is amazing that we get to live in this culture that practices all their really traditional cultural customs on a daily basis, and they don't shut it off at the end of the day and just go live like anybody else. It continues to be part of their DNA even while they sleep, while they're going about their work days, while they're doing everything. They still have this idea of Fa'a Samoa, which is the traditional Samoan ways, in the back of their minds, and it's dictating their actions and their words and what they're doing throughout the day.
One of the biggest parts of this Fa'a Samoa is taking care of one another, is sharing in the burden of the hard times as well as the good times, which is why the healthcare system here is so indicative of this Samoan culture.
Instead of everybody kind of being out for themselves, instead of profit driving everything, and instead of self-interest kind of getting in the way of quality of care, now the living culture, you'll also see it in a lot of other ways. You'll see things like Sa, which is kind of like a period of time at the beginning of the evening time where they'll kind of shut down the islands, like literally stop cars on a lot of streets, not let anybody come out of their houses, because it's a time for families to come in to be with each other and to pray, to reflect on the day. And it's an important part of the culture that they've been doing for thousands of years that is still practiced today.
The traditional way of cooking here is called the umu, which is an earth oven up on top of the earth, and they use hot stones to cook the food. And like Nate was saying, it's not just something they do for the tourists. Every Sunday, if you wake up early enough, you can look out across the island and see these stacks of smoke going into the sky. And everybody's cooking their Sunday umu for their toana'i later, their big family meal on Sunday.
So if you're considering coming to American Samoa as a visitor, as somebody who's going to live here for a period of time, that's something to look forward to. I think it's good and bad, like everything on this list. Sometimes the customs can feel a little bit abrasive if you haven't grown up with them, but if you will let yourself fall into the Fa'a Samoa and be a part of it, then you'll find appreciation for it, and I think that you'll think it's a beautiful thing as opposed to being kind of a burden on you. So that is our list of the things we wish we would have known before we came to American Samoa. Now, if you have something that you wish you would have known before you moved here or before you visited American Samoa, do us a favor and tell us in the comments, because we would love to add that into maybe another list if we do a follow-up list to this someday.
Or if you're planning on coming here, let us know what you are wondering about, what you want to know before you move.
Be happy to answer all your questions.
Well, it's getting late. The sun is setting, which, by the way, is beautiful. But we better say tofa for now and head out.
But let's go up to the fale and go enjoy the view while the sun sets.
Sounds good. Don't forget to give us that thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and hit that subscribe button.
And click on the bell so that you'll know when all of our new videos come out. Okay, bye.
Bye.